How you doing? Sorry about the noise. They're digging some stumps out. Nothing I can do about it. Just had to put up with it. In fact, it'll probably be going on the whole length of this movie. So if you don't like that, why hang up now. This is an old commercial wine rack that I picked up about 30 years ago. The dealer was on his way to the trash with it, and I asked him if I could have it just because it was wood. You know, usually stuff like that's cardboard and stuff. This is wood. I'll give them a little recognition, Napa Ridge. Anyway, my wife used it for a plant stand on the sunroom for the last 30 years. And I thought I'd do something with it, clean it up, and sand it down, and put a little finish on it, and make it look halfway decent. She wants these spindles taken out. This held wine bottles. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut those out. Then I'm going to sand and clean it up. It's real solid. It doesn't hardly wiggle or anything at all. It's more than solid. So it's just a matter of cleaning it up, put some finish on it, maybe a little stain of some kind, and fixing it up. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to get started by cutting the spindles out. You probably don't need to watch that. There's nothing there to see. I'm just going to take a saw and saw those and pull them out. Now this is broken out on each side, and the reason why is because they didn't build it right. So, but it's stapled to the back here, so I don't think I have to worry about it being loose. But I'm going to pull those out, the little brads they got in there, and glue this up, put a little wood putty on that, straighten this up, get rid of this torn out spot on this side and on the bottom side down here. Hard to hold the camera and do that at the same time. Well, get some wood putty on these spots, let it dry, and then I'm going to start sanding it. This is split a little bit here, so the first thing I'm going to do is lift this up a little bit and squirt some crazy glue down in there. This bring it down, put a little accelerator on it, and it didn't hold. I think I need it thick. This is really good stuff, but there's just no way you can keep it from leaking. Then it gets all over your hands. But acetone fingernail polish remover will take it off your hands. It comes in thin, medium, and thick. That did it. Solid as a rock. Okay, I'm going to use JB Quickwood. You've probably seen that before. It comes in a tube. It's 2 colors. And you just cut off a piece, the size you want, and you mix it together in your hands. That's all there is to it. I won't take a very big piece for this side. The other side is going to be bigger. Just cut off a little sliver, and you just work it with your fingers until the color, until it's this tan color all the way through. It's got a good work time. I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. Okay, that's about what it's going to look like. Just take it and form it around the crack. That's pretty good. Now turn it over and see if I can do the other side. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let it dry, then be sanded. In the meantime, I'm going to be sanding elsewhere. Turn my air filter on. Well, here's my patch. As you can see, it's dry, it's hard, it sticks. And what I got to do now is a little sanding on it, make it smooth. Then color it. I'm going to try coloring it before I put the stain on. I'll use colored markers to do that. So that's what I'm doing. Well, there's what it looks like. Looks like kind of a continuation of the knot. The worst thing about all these, I'll turn it around here, furniture repair markers. See, what brand is this? Not sure there is a brand. Anyway, the worst thing about them is that they're all very red. There's none that are actually brown. The black is black, and all the rest of them are basically the same color. It's hard to differentiate between them, which is kind of disappointing. I might fill up some of these staple holes a little bit. I'll be using Robert's wood laminate and vinyl putty. The nice thing about Robert's is that it comes in colors, as you can see. That's a different color. This is light, There's also a light in Spanish and French or something there. I'm not sure what. Anyway, and the colors are actually different colors, and they turn out that way. But these splits here that I repaired were too big for something like this. It wouldn't stay in. So I'm going to patch these up a little bit, and then I'm going to put some stain on. I'm going to use the yellow can. I'm going to use natural. I don't want to actually color it. That'll just bring out the grain. And then I'll be using clear semi-gloss polyurethane. Alright, get back to you. I thought I'd put a little round over on this leading edge here. Got my little router. I'll be making 2 passes. This wood will split out pretty easy, and I want to do everything I can to prevent that. So we'll see how it works. I'll leave the camera on. It'll be noisy. Now, you route like that from left to right, but when you come over to this edge, it'll split out. So what I did, for my final cut, I come over here and then I back route just a little ways so that it won't split out. And as you can see, it didn't. Then I come back over here and start here and go this way. But that's just a little trick. You back route just for a little ways. You don't want to do that all the way. It won't do it. You can lose control and won't do a nice job. But just a little bit there. Come here like that and back her up. Why, it works pretty well to prevent split out. Then you come back over to the other side and do the regular routing. Well, there we got a little round over. That makes it look a little nicer. I'm gonna vacuum the area here, get rid of the dust, clean this up real well, and then stain it. You're using a wet vac, wet dry vac anyway. There it is. It's stained. I think it looks a little better. Boy, you have to flip this thing a dozen different ways to be able to get all the different angles and sides. But I think it's going to be worth it. Well, I'm going to let this dry overnight. And then tomorrow, why, we will put polyurethane on. Well, good morning. It's good and dry, so I'm going to start coating it here. I've already done the top shelf, so I can set it up here. I'm going to do this shelf next. And be better if I did this with a foam brush, but I didn't have one. I thought I did have, but I didn't have one. So doing it this way with a regular bristle brush, why, it tends to leave bubbles, but you can go back over it, stroke back over it, and you can drag the bubbles out. It's just a little extra effort, that's all. Well, good morning again. This is day 3, and we've got our first coat of poly on there, and it's really soaked it up. So I'm going to sand it with some 320 and put another coat on there, and it should be done then. Now I put it on the brush, and actually it did real well. I think it did well because the wood is so dry and it's soaking it up so much. It's actually pretty smooth, but it's definitely in need of another coat. So I'm going to sand just barely, you know, nothing. You don't want to sand hard. We don't want to sand the old finish off. We just want to take the shine off of it so that the new coat will adhere well. So I'm going to do that, and the next time you see it, it'll be all done. Well, good morning again. I think this is day 3 or maybe day 4. Don't go by the days how much time I got in this, because I've only spent a few minutes each day. I would guess maybe 2 hours at the most of actual labor I've got in it. You know, it's 15 minutes here and 20 minutes there, and that's about all there is. Was it worth it? I guess worth is, if you're looking at worth from a standpoint of how much I could sell it for, well, I doubt if I can get 20 bucks for this. If I have 2 hours worth of labor in it, well, I ought to be able to get at least 100 to make it work out. But from an economic standpoint, no. From a pleasure standpoint, having the fun and the sense of accomplishment of taking a piece that most people would throw in the trash and making it decent, from that standpoint, yeah, it's worth it. It was worth the effort. So I was glad I could do it. This morning I'm going to rub some feeding wax, beeswax, orange oil on it. Rub that on with a steel wool, piece of steel wool. This is 4/0 steel wool, that's real fine. And you don't rub hard. When you rub your hand over it, you can feel what we call nits, N-I-T-S, nits. And I don't know, nits are maybe dust that fell into the polyurethane before it got dry, sort of thing. But you just rub it over and it takes all the nits off and kind of protects the finish. So now you just put a little dab on there and you just lightly rub. Another way to take nits off if you don't want to put the wax on is to fold up a brown paper bag and just rub it with a brown paper bag. It won't hurt the finish, and it will remove the nits. You can kind of hear that as I rub it. Either that or you can hear the furnace running, one or the other. Turned cold again today. We got almost 2 inches of rain last night. And after 12 inches, or 13 inches I guess it was, 13 inches of snow, the ground is really soaked. The snow just melted the day before yesterday, so it's been wet. Well, I'm going to go ahead and rub this down. When I get all done, we'll make that famous final reveal. Then you can gauge for yourself, if you had this, would you have spent the time and effort to make it right? So I'm going to turn you off now and finish rubbing her down.